so disappointed.
My hype is intensified.
Oh my
If only there had been chairs.
Welcome you to Won't You Be My Mentor. I'm Anthony Hullings. You guys all call me Krug. All my friends do. And you all know Charles.
I'm Charles Feather.
He's Magic Dad.
Yes, among other things. Middle.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so we're going to start off really simple. Yes?
I don't call you that. Don't hand out your friends.
So we're going to start off simply. Who could be a mentor?
Anybody.
Anybody. There's a lot of decisions within the judge program that feel, level 1s can't be mentors because they can't make judges. And that's absolutely wrong. Level 1s essentially mentor judge candidates, L1 to JC. Level 1s mentor L1s because some L1s who are already in competitive rel already have experience that new level 1s don't have. Share your experiences. Level 2s mentor level 1s every day. I do it with a big group of you. Level 2s mentor other level 2s. Same reason. I may have more experience than Rogan. I may have more experience than Gil, and vice versa. Should we share experiences? Some L1s may even mentor L2 because, hey, I'm an L2 that doesn't know Word. But Trevor knows Word a lot better than I do, so I'm going to sit down with Trevor and he's going to teach me Word a little bit. Typically, learning is a self-study thing within the judge program. We sit down and take tests, we figure out what kind of information we need, and we learn it on our own. Judge candidate or mentees directed to the Judge Center, mostly by everyone. I rarely do that, to be honest. We tend to think of mentoring in the program as a higher level judge mentoring. Like you all told me, you're all mentors. I'm learning from you, and every day you learn from me. Anyone have any experiences they can share that display an unexpected mentoring relationship? Does anyone have any kind of experience they can share that's unexpected in your the program?
I remember when I met you. I was L2 or about to L2, and you knew way more than I did, and helped me learn a lot. So.
Okay. Anybody else? Right?
I went to my store. A lot of the players around me saw, hey, Brian's now a judge. Brian, make me a judge. Well, that's not how this works. I can teach you what I know so you can become a judge, but past that I can help you advance further. So that's mostly on the L1 to either the L1 mentoring L1s or other judge candidates. But yeah, just because it doesn't matter what number you have, you're going to be mentoring no matter what. So.
And to touch on that, a big thing with that is when your candidates walk into an FNM for the very first time, and they see the judge at the program, and they're like, I want to be just like you. 9 out of 10 times that judge at FNM is a level 1. Level 2 doesn't really stick around those stores very often. In my area, I walk around 4 different stores, and I'm one of the only level 2s in those stores on a regular basis. So sometimes it's a level 1 all the time. You had your hand up, Richard?
Yeah, I was talking to a level 2 who is a mentor of mine, and he had a question. He was talking about something he felt he wasn't doing right as an L2, and I explained to him that no, I think an L2 is doing exactly what you are doing, and this is what it means to be an L2. I felt like that's something.
One more question before we go? One more example? Nicola?
Is there another level?
No.
We only have enough mana to cast these
There
spells.
definitely are
Abby?
more levels.
One more quick question before you switch the slide.
Not so much like unexpected level mentorship, but like unexpected people I've never met. Message me on Facebook, whatever, asking me random surprise policy questions, surprise rules question, and I met them for 10 seconds at a GP. And it's like, it could be anybody.
Okay, next one, please. Okay, so it's exactly that. What is mentoring? Mentoring is a relationship in which a more experienced, more knowledgeable person helps to teach and guide a less experienced or less knowledgeable person. So number doesn't matter in this situation. lot of people feel in the judge program that number matters. It does for most things. It just recognizes our scope in the program. You'll hear that going around a lot, especially the newer judges, that the number is your scope in the program, what you're responsible for as being a magic judge. So if mentorship is a relationship where a more experienced judge teaches, then what's teaching? Teaching is to show or explain to someone how to do something. It's not really interactive. You're just showing someone how to do something. And when it comes to mentorship, we want to interact with our candidates, with our peers, in a face-to-face basis, Facebook group message, and so on. We'll go over that a little bit later, okay? That's a really quick slide. We'll go over to Charles to the next slide.
Sure. We all have this image in our minds of what makes a really good mentor. So let me ask you, what qualities do you think are required to be a mentor?
Patience.
Patience.
Knowledge.
Knowledge.
Yeah, has to be trustworthy, somebody you can trust.
Okay, trust. I like that one. Abby?
Respectful.
Respectful.
The ability, the ability to explain things.
Okay.
I mean, I was going to say they need the ability to actually teach.
Okay.
And a good listener.
A good listener. Nicole.
Nicole first.
Accessible.
Accessible.
Accessible. Okay.
You have to have a cool superpower.
Alright, well, I guess we can all go home now.
This is like my cake today. I'm going to agree with all of those. In fact, I'm going to share with you some of the ideal mentor qualities that Krug and I came up with before the presentation. We think some of them are, of course, patience and active listener. Not just a good listener, but an active listener, somebody that engages. The ability to break down tasks. How important is it that your mentee really understands how to do something basic? And if you can't teach that on a fundamental level, then you're going to not get the information across that you need to. Empathetic. They have to kind of have a sense for what your mentee's going through. Confidence.
I'm going to cut it with confidence because it's a very big conversation for me with a lot of the judges I'm looking at in this room and a lot of other judges I meet. Confidence is very important in this program. You need to be confident when you're issuing your ruling. You need to be confident when you're speaking with your peers. You need to be confident when you're talking to the head judge. It all breaks down into a ladder. If you're not confident with your players, then your players can't be confident in you. They're not going to listen to your ruling. Same thing goes with your team leads. You're not confident in what you're doing. They're not going to be confident in you to get your job done. Same thing with the head judge. They're not going to look at you in a confident manner. The TOs aren't going to hire you back because you're not being confident as well. So it all one big trickle throughout the entire circle from mentorship all the way to working your events deals with confidence.
Great. And if your mentor does not have confidence, are you going to have confidence? Probably not. You're not going to display the level of confidence that's necessary. Then we have things like knowledgeable, experienced. You can't teach if you don't already know how to teach, or if you don't already know the lesson that you're going to impart. Available. I heard that, right? Somebody said available. Available. You know, if a mentor is not available, they're useless. They really are. Willingness to admit, I don't know. It's terribly important. And of course, teachable. Okay? Mentors got to be willing to expand their skill set just as much as the mentee is.
All right, so we're going to talk about mentoring roles, okay? Yeah. We're not going to talk about those roles. They're pretty tasty, but we're going to talk about the two main roles of mentoring and what they entail. So we're going to define our mentor roles. You know, a mentor, you know, we have our, master wizard, Baron over there. He's a teacher. He's more experienced. He's able to break down his tasks. He's able to always seeking to improve and become better. A mentor is the teacher. They need to have experience and the knowledge to share. If they're specialists in the judge program, then the information they will share is likely tightly focused, and you're able to pass it on really easily. Or perhaps they're primarily a floor judge. They like working the floor. They don't want to be learning tasks. They just like issuing their rulings and answering calls. The broad range of skills related to rules and rulings. You want to focus on that stuff. Mentors need to be confident and have a positive attitude. Positive attitude is huge. No one wants to interact with me if I have a scowl on my face at all times and I'm all sluggish and I yell at you all the time. Very positive. We want to make sure that we pass on the knowledge. We don't want to instill fear in most people. The mentee is the student, the one receiving the knowledge, the one learning from the experience of the mentor. Without someone to teach, the mentor has nothing to do. So we're not passing on knowledge, it's just sitting idle in one of you if you're not passing it on. The two roles are paired together. The mentee must be ready to learn and develop. But there's also a third role that needs to be mentioned. Often there are peers. I can be mentoring Abby and Trevor at one specific moment, where Adrian walks by and he sees what's going on and he thinks he can improve on what I'm showing them. He is instantly part of the mentor circle now because he's going to involve himself. Nicola comes in and he sees what's going on. He can add to this. And it's just always one full circle. That's all we are. You know, family. Judges family. We contribute to the overall learning process through positive reinforcement. Always positive reinforcement. Sometimes we got to get harsh with each other. Happens. It's the way we teach. It's the way we learn and we grow together. And we share our own personal experiences. You learn through judging by doing, and then you pass that on to somebody else, and then they learn their own way of doing it. Just because I do, answer my rulings one way doesn't mean I do it the way Nicola taught me. But Nicola has his way of doing it, and I'm passing it on now to Chris. Chris is going to do it his way after he essentially learns how to do it from me. So it's a constant circle. Everything's a circle.
You would think no.
I have to get my stabs in somewhere.
Just remember exemplar.
Wow, it's rough in this room. So I want to talk about the mentoring cycle for a moment. It was first discussed in a post to judges by Judge David Hibbs. And he described the mentoring cycle as having three parts: educate, observe, assess. It discusses this in 3 steps, is the way he broke it down. And for the moment, we'll start at the top of the cycle with educate. Educating, teaching, of course, is at the top, because it's what we naturally think of when we think of mentoring. But it's only just the beginning. What good is a pair of scissors if it's never sharpened? When the mentor educates, they're passing on some knowledge. Okay? They are, perhaps it's how to approach a ruling, perhaps more importantly, how to handle a bad ruling or a difficult situation. From that point, the mentor needs to observe. So first we educate, then we observe what's happening with the mentee. After that, we move to assess. Okay? We educate, we observe, we assess. With assess, what we do is we're actually thinking back about our interaction with the mentee. We're thinking also about what happened when they used the information that we taught them. And then we're actually going to do something with the mentee. We're going to provide them that magical word that judges use. We're going to provide them feedback. Okay? We're going to talk to the mentee about the approach that they used. We're going to drill it down. We're going to offer some macro or some micro changes. It depends on how they performed. But a good teacher will always be able to do that. Will always be able to offer a little bit of feedback, even if it's just, hey, you did a great job. And then, of course, we move right back into education again. We've taught them something, they've learned something, they've demonstrated it, we've talked about it, now let's teach them something new. It's a never-ending cycle. But here's the really neat thing about this that I took away from the article by David Hibbs. It's this. We can come in at any point in time, okay? We can come in and observe somebody do something that we're not exactly sure is the best method. And we can pull them aside, we can assess with them, and then we can educate them a little bit more and let them try it again, all right? Or maybe we talk to one of our fellow judges. Maybe I talk to Max, and Max says, you know, I had this great interaction with Chris, but I'm not sure he really got it. Here's the feedback that I gave him. Would you talk to him? And Chris and I have a chat. And we move forward back to education again. That's a great cycle. The beautiful thing about this is it's never ending. It's circular, and we keep moving forward with it. Carl? This one's me. This one's me. Oh, good. What happens when you're not present? Okay. What happens when you're not present for the person that you're mentoring? What happens when you're a mentee and your mentor's not there?
Anybody?
I mean, I was really lucky that I was introduced to, you at my very first comp event, and I was introduced to Alon, who is my area rep, and we also just play at the same game store. But my original mentor kind of got busy, kind of just dropped away, and we also lived over an hour apart because we were just bred in the suit, and he was an L2 and thought I could be an good L1.
Sure.
So, and it was hard, but then like Krug and Alon were there to just like pick it up. But it definitely was like there was a good like couple months where I just didn't do anything because I didn't know how to proceed with it.
Okay. Show of hands, how many people have worked at GP? Cool. How many of you worked at GP and your individual mentor at the time was not going to be on staff? A couple of you. Never?
Number one.
Never? You never worked at GP and your mentor wasn't on staff? Or you have so many mentors it doesn't matter, right? All right, but a couple of you have worked at GP without your mentor. Did somebody step in and fill that role while you were at the GP?
Your team lead, your head judge, and the other judges you're around tend to fill mentorship roles should you need that to happen.
Right, right, and that's exactly what we're looking for with the program, is we're looking for somebody to step in. Adam?
Well, there's also the Judge Buddy program, which can help you find a mentor.
Yep. If you specifically want to mentor at a GP that you know your actual mentor's not going to be there, the buddy program is something you could reach out to and actually have a mentor assigned to you for the day.
Or maybe ask your area rep or something, recommendation of someone to go to.
I think it's also the responsibility more of the team leads than the head judge, but it depends on the size of the event, to step forward and say, hey, you know what, I've never met Jonah before. Jonah, let's have a conversation for a minute. Is your mentor here? Here? Yeah, is your mentor at the event today?
Yes.
Yes, excellent. I'm glad to hear that. So you'll be talking to him about your goals today and everything else? Excellent. Okay. Sometimes the answers are no. And that's when the head judge or the team lead needs to step forward and provide that support, or pair them up with somebody else while they're working ODEs. When you know that one of your mentees is going to be at an event, do you reach out to the head judge or to the team lead?
Yes.
If you're not going to be there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? So you do that?
Yep.
How's that work for you?
Really well.
Yeah.
Why do we do it? You do it so that the head judge / TO knows what to expect and even can put the judge in a position where he or she is able to learn.
Sounds great. I hope that we're all going to be doing that going forward if we don't do that.
So we have some mentoring tools. Some people are stuck on the original ways. Some people have new ways of doing it. So we have Facebook chat. We have meetups. We have events specifically. You're only going to work. Sometimes you only work with somebody at an event. You never see them any other time. You have various internet sources. Mystical Tutor is a phenomenal tool. I've been plugging it since I
That's
first saw it.
mystical tutor. I'm sorry.
It's there.
Just didn't translate.
We got cranial insertion is a great thing to keep looking into to see rules interactions that you may not understand. Judge apps. The forums are always open for questions. If you guys don't know about it, just go on a forum. You can talk to the other judges in there. They'll answer your questions for you. Educational Edge. Charles will touch on that a little bit. And we have the Start, Stop, Continue. Circle. Yes,
Slack.
Excuse me?
Slack.
We have the Slack groups now.
Right.
So anything else you guys might add that I haven't mentioned that we may not have listed here? Anything else you use?
Not our C chat.
The IRC chat, it's a perfect tool. Anybody else? So to touch a little bit on these, the Facebook group chats, we have actual groups. We have the level 2 group, we have the level 1 group, we have the Northeast group. Every area has a Facebook group talk. Facebook chats I'm actually a very big fan of. I actually took a handful of my level 1s and I put them all into the same group together and we constantly communicate. We'll bring up rules interactions together, we'll go over stuff. Situations that they have never dealt with, I'll throw something at them and we'll talk about it and they are learning from that, through the communication of each other. Or we'll just have a random conversation just to keep tension is slight. Hey, acceptance are going out for the GP. I got accepted. Oh, but I didn't. We're there for each other. We provide feedback for each other. We provide positive energy for each other, because being denied hurts, but put the energy in to do better next time. The meetups, great times. Conferences, we're learning from each other now. You guys are listening to me, you guys listen to Charles, you have feedback from me, something I don't know. We're learning from each other. All the internet sources have everything specifically detailed in a syllabus. Municipal Tutor being the best example, of course. It's all from point A to point B. Whatever aspect you want to learn or have the candidates learn, it's there. Cranial insertion, specific rules and interactions, look them up. I've had a fun interaction thrown at me with reflecting pool and river tiers, and I threw it at my candidates, and they didn't know. So I threw that cranial insertion at them. And hey, we worked through it. We got it. We figured it out. And we're going to touch on the educational edge with Charles now.
Sure, educational edge is something that is not a formal software tool that we use with the Judge program, but it's a very simple acronym. EDGE stands for Explain, Demonstrate, Guide, and Enable. So it's just a simple tool, a mnemonic that you can use. You can put it into your tool shed, you can pull it out when you actually need to. You do have a tool shed, right, Jonah? Yeah, okay. Put it into your tool shed, pull it out, use it when you're going to go and teach somebody something. So it goes on the foundation of we're going to explain first what we're going to teach and how we're going to teach it. We want to keep that brief. Then we're going to demonstrate it. And I don't think as judges we necessarily always demonstrate maybe as much as we should, particularly when we're talking about how to set up table numbers, or how to put out slips, or any number of physical acts, how to take a call. Okay. Guide, or who's guide? Yes, guide. No, I get stuck with the judge joke in my head. I'm sorry. Guide is simply we're going to watch them and we're going to talk them through it as they do it themselves. And then we'll enable them. We'll walk away from them and we'll let them do it. But we'll keep an eye on them. It goes back to that whole circle that we were talking about before with educate, assess, and observe. Observe in the middle there. And then start, stop, continue. Start, stop, continue is kind of a weird little tool, which I'm sure not many of you have heard about before, but it's very simple. Some point in time during the day, stop somebody and say, how are things going today? What's going on? They'll tell you a little bit about it. And you can ask them, what do you want to start doing today? What have you not done yet? And they can tell you. And then you can ask them, what do you want to stop doing? What have you done today that just didn't work for you? And then what do you want to continue doing? What's working well for you? Start, stop, continue is a simple tool set as well that will help you out in interacting with judges that you're mentoring.
Okay, so we have soft skills versus technical skills. We as judges teach specific skills depending on the event, depending on the environment, depending on the person we're working with. I'm going to cover soft skills real fast. Soft skills are the initial stuff we're coming into, the application of rules knowledge. Actually delivering rulings, the appropriate way to approach a table. Working with a TO, candidate doesn't know how to do that. And my personal favorite, because it was drilled into me, is that J in judge. The J in judge stands for janitor. And the integrity of the event is very important in an event. If you have a table full of trash, players are not going to they're not going to be comfortable sitting there. They're either going to push on the floor, they're not going to quit the trash can. So that's one thing we as judges learned to do in the beginning, and it was driven into my head. So it's one thing I use as a soft skill that I make sure that I teach all of my candidates.
What does the rest of the word judge stand for?
No.
There is a story there. You can ask after the presentation if you're curious.
So what soft skills do we need other than what's possibly here? What other soft skills do you think we need to be able to pass on to our candidates, our mentors, our mentees? Anybody?
How to access resources?
Mm-hmm.
How you interact with players, not just on rulings, just in general.
Yep.
How you interact with other judges.
Perfect.
How to get a strong application.
When did you learn how to take a break?
Yep.
Providing feedback.
Yep.
Introduce yourself to those stories.
Mm-hmm.
The ability to calm people down if they're excited about something.
Yes.
Good or bad.
How to communicate what you want.
There you go. All these things are actually soft skills. It's not easy to learn how to talk to people, but talking to people is a soft skill. We'll go to technical skills, that'll be Charles' side for us.
Sure. But before I do technical skills, how many people, when the first time you met Krug, he asked you, do you know what the J in judge stands for? There are a few of us. Excellent.
How many years ago was that?
Excellent. That's how I met him. We were introduced, names were exchanged, and he goes, do you know what the J in judge stands for? No. That was the beginning. Yeah, whoops. So for technical skills, we looked at things that are harder sciences, things that we can do write-ups about, things like logistics and deck checks. End of round. Did anybody go through the end of round sessions here today? They were outstanding.
Yes.
How to handle paper teams were, and now our dear friend Walter, right? And our dear, well, we should be nice. And then ODEs, how to fire them and run them and maintain them throughout the day. What other technical skills do we want to pass on to mentees at different levels?
When the time's right, how to do a disqualification.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to do disqualifications, but we need to pass that on, of course.
You mean you don't pass that on by like disqualifying a player from an event for the purpose of showing them how to?
I mean, not everyone. Not everyone. I'd say
The nuts and bolts behind a lot of the things people said, like someone said applying how to apply for an event, how to write a good application. Well, how do I apply for an event? And like providing feedback. How do I write a where do reviews go? Where do those?
Yeah, in the soft skill side, it's going to be this is how you do it. Essentially, we'll tell you where to go, and this is the area, and this is how you do that. But when you go to the technical aspect, this is going to be specifically you need to do these things. A good cover letter mostly contains good goals, the expectations of the TO that can have of you, and recommendations and your experiences. So 3 normal things. Other people say others. I'm still learning how to write a better cover letter, but those are the 3 things I typically focus on. Not necessarily in that order. I just want to make sure that the TO knows what they're getting from me, what they can expect of me, who I've worked with, and my goals for the day.
When I'm working with a candidate, one of the things I want to teach right off the bat is I want to teach about JAR. Okay, I want to teach the importance of that document. It's just 2 pages, but it is so critical that they really understand.
Hugs or DQs?
Hugs or DQs?
Hugs.
Yes, regularly, most strictly.
How many of you here are guilty of walking up to an event at a GP, figuring a situation, and issuing a warning just to find out it was actually a regular event? Anybody?
I had somebody
I've heard really good
stories.
stories.
A regular REL event in whatever event I was at last.
Really? At GP Washington, while I was working sides, I was appealed. Kid you not, true story.
50 years late.
Okay, the guy who got a game loss was like, so this is regular, and I got a game loss for going at 5 minutes late to my match.
Oof.
So benefits to the mentor. The mentor actually gets benefits to actually doing their job and bringing in the mentee. The value we find in the mentor program and how it affects everyone involved needs to be mentioned. Not only do our mentees benefit from the newfound skills and knowledge that we're passing on to them, but we benefit as well because as mentors, we have the opportunity to grow as well. We develop better, more efficient ways to teach and pass on our experiences and knowledge. I may not know the steps of casting a spell to a T, but the more I teach them, the more I ingrain them into my head, and the more I get them. Layers. We learn the layers as level 1s. Just know the order. Not necessarily how to apply them, but then we'll finally apply them and constantly giving the rules and interactions of how we apply the layers. Something clicks. It's like, oh my god, that's how it works. And I've actually done that with multiple judges. I've had judges come to me with examples of like, oh, how does humility and painter servant work? Okay, it applies in this specific order. Or they go, okay, and then walk away. 5 seconds later, they'll come back like, oh, I got humility and Magnus the Moon to play now. Same thing, and they go, oh crap! And they walk. The more you do things, the more you apply a better way of passing on the knowledge and teaching, and it makes you a better mentor. And even the positive attitude with that, people see you providing that positive enforcement with somebody. Now somebody wants you to mentor them. You're at a table giving rulings. The better you get at giving rulings, now players looking at it like, that was really well explained. And I've had players ask me, can you help me become a judge? It's because what we're getting from being mentors.
Before we go on to the next slide, I just want to add a couple of things, because we were just in a great presentation given by John about how to get the judge candidate to through the process and get them to actually become a level 1. And one of the things he talked about was triggers. And he said triggers was kind of an area where he felt he needed to work on. For me, my area that I need to work on is layers. And I know that by learning layers better, I'll be able to help people that I work with better. So I built a layer stack. If you haven't built one before, or if you haven't seen one before, if you have a weakness for layers,
It's another teaching tool.
I'd like to suggest that you actually go out and do that. You build one. They're tremendously helpful.
Before we pass on, does anyone here have any experiences where they felt they got as much out of mentoring as your mentee may have gotten from you?
Since I became a judge, all my friends are texting me judge questions, and I have to look them up a lot of the time, and I'm just learning a lot.
Okay, that's good.
I mean, as someone who kind of lives in a isolated part of the region, I'm the one that most candidates are interacting with, and since I'm pursuing L2, it's nice to work with people who, like, I'm developing the mentoring skills I need to be an L2 by helping people who want to be L1s.
Yep.
I'm working with someone right now who's working not just with me, but with a couple of other level 1 and 2 judges in the area, and so that's helping me build connections with other local judges.
Great. Chris?
As someone who goes back and forth between states because of school and home, one of the things that I had to adapt was to find more mentors and be able to provide, more than one way to communicate with my mentor. So even though I'm mentor from home and I'm here, I need to have that, that connection base. So.
At one point I was teaching candidates layers, and attendees came up, and I was like, I don't actually know. I know the answer. I don't know the why of the answer, how of the answer, but I do know that it's a and then I figured out why.
So helping somebody study, and I had a person that asked me, how do you study to get the knowledge level you need for this level? And I had to think back to how did I prepare? And then I had to explain to them what I did to give them a basis for how they could study. Like I don't know, it's just different thinking about how did you actually do it, because you just did it.
Yep.
Lots of money paid off lots of people.
Anybody else? We'll take one more. No? All right.
Good. Difficult situations, this could be a challenge to talk about for a second. So the one thing I want to stress is I want to stress no names. The other thing I want to stress the other thing I want to ask, and I don't even have it in my notes, but I thought of it as we were doing this. How many people in here are, let's see, judge candidates? Any judge candidates today? Wonderful, thank you. Any L1s? Bulk of the room. Any L2s? There are a few of us. There's a few of you. Yeah.
So yeah, when's that happen?
Yeah.
So that happening.
I only did it because I got tired of people asking.
How many L3s today? 2 L3s.
Someone was online and handed off right.
So we have a nice distribution here. The thing about that is that we're all going to have an experience, probably maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe a lot more, depends on how many you've been in the program. But how do we handle a difficult mentee? How do we handle that person that just isn't getting it, that's having a problem, maybe a little over anxious or even non-communicative? How do we deal with it?
There's essentially, I think, 2 ways you can approach that. You can push harder and just keep doing what you're doing, and maybe it eventually will get there, or you can just talk to them and say, look, I'm having a hard time. This is a behavior that I have noticed. This is how I am feeling about it. How are you feeling about that?
Okay.
And see if they acknowledge that that's a struggle that they may have. Or if it's something that you feel like maybe your skill set doesn't lend to helping them out.
Sure.
Encouraging them to speak to this other person who may be able to better help you with this particular thing. Not just like pawning them off and saying, I can't help you. Just, I think this person may be able to help you better than I can.
Right. How important is it to have that conversation in person?
It depends on who it is and the scenario.
Would you think that it's better to do it that way?
Yes.
Sorry. You had your hand first.
Well, first of all, if I can say, I was probably a difficult mentee. My mentor and I have very opposite outlooks on the world. And one of the things he did for me was just basically have infinite patience. But that's one. And two, as I'm taking care of other JCs that are looking to come up, one of the things I'm being forced to do is draw lines and create boundaries and say, you know what, if you want to do this, these are the things that you're going to have to do to show me that you want to do this before I just have to handhold everything for you through this process. And that cuts a lot of the fat out.
I'm going to agree with that, and I'm going to say that is the most excellent sweatshirt I've seen all day.
Thank you.
Sweet.
I was just gonna build off of Brogan. It's not, and maybe it's not so much that your skills don't match their needs, maybe it's your teaching style doesn't match their learning style.
Sure.
And it's like, you know, I'm really sorry, but I don't know how to teach any other way. And maybe this person, maybe the mentoring better.
See, you bring it up, I have a candidate in Delaware that approached me, and he really wants to be as good as their design. He's his family. And it's very difficult for him to deal with the way we do everything on Facebook. He's having a little hard time doing it. So the best thing I figured out to do was actually hand him off to a mentor closer to him that can work face to face with him. And Trevor actually stepped up to the plate for that one for me. He's actually sitting down with that mentee once a week, once every 2 weeks. Whenever he's at the store, they interact together, they can run events together, it's fine. Sometimes you gotta pass on your candidate to another judge if you guys just clash. Chris?
Sometimes, going back to your point about tripping fat, when a JC comes up to me, one of the first things is the initiative. The judge program, a lot of things are based on initiative-based projects and initiative-based events, and that's something that really stuck out to me as I'm learning more about this project, especially when you create a project by yourself with other people. But the thing that I want to take away is when a JC comes up to you and, you know, I want to be a judge, but they're not really mean it, you know, that's something that you should just take in mind, because I feel that judges should be initiative. They should take the initiative, but that's someone I learned on.
I've been at level 2 for 3 months now, 4 months? Don't even remember, but 12 candidates come to me. I have 2 still looking to test. The other one just disappeared. So you give them the information, and you let them handle what they have to handle.
They need to email you.
They come to you.
Oh, you have learned.
We're gonna move to the next slide, but afterwards, if you want to add to that or talk to us, we can.
So all this, we have the feedback loop. You know, big thing. It's a big topic in the judge program now. Reviews, PEP. Discussion on importance of feedback and mentoring. Why is feedback important? Who learns from the feedback? And what can we take back from it? One big thing is the debrief at the end of the event. We just finished working a nice big event with people on the team lead. I have my 5 judges with me. I'm going to sit down with you guys at the end of the event. I want to make sure you guys understand what did you guys do good today? What are your goals today? Here's where I think you need to improve. If I'm going to review, we have reviews. Everyone wants to review. I may not write all 5, but I touch base with you all day. You want me to write a review for you? This is what I'm going to improve, add in your review. The debrief information plus a little bit more. We have turn reports. Turn reports may not be centralized to one specific person, but a lot of times you read the reports and they include some of the events that happened with the other judges throughout the event. So you get an idea of how the event was run in the judge's eyes, how you feel that that person writing that review or turn report thinks the other judges did in the event. Those are great ways. Anybody else, real quick, have any other ways we provide feedback?
And while we just mentioned tournament reports, it seems like an odd one to mention. If you're the mentee, make sure that you're sharing your tournament report with your mentor before you post it. Let them do a read through, and vice versa. If you're the mentor and you know your mentee's writing a report, let them know that they really should reach out to you when they're done writing it, so that you can get involved in the process.
If you want someone to read your tournament report, you can send it to me.
Or John Bryan would probably.
Or with reviews, there's the other.
Want to Brogan versus Shooter again?
Oh no, it's just the also like live feedback in the moment, like small adjustments can be so helpful. Like if it is something that is you can just tweak in the moment.
High 5 all day. You know that right here. Great job. Nicola, you have something to add?
Yeah, well, it's back to what Charles was saying about tournament report, but also with reviews.
Right.
If you have something that you want to share with somebody, the best way I found to approach that is to talk to them at the event and sit down with them and say, hey, you know, I saw X, Y, and Z today. That was fantastic. It was great. B and C, I was a little confused at. And, you know, I think that if you do it this other way, it might work out a little bit better, right? You want to have that face-to-face feedback especially when in the end you're going to go and write it down, right? Because when you write it down, you have completely different context when it's in the judge center, and then beyond that, other people get to see that, and they get to use that and make decisions off of that. So it's not that like the person needs, you know, any kind of chance to respond or anything like that, but if you give them the ability to, one, you tell it to them to their face, and then two, you give them that foreknowledge that this is coming. It typically has greater impact and greater positive impact, because just getting a raw review can sometimes rub people the wrong way and might not have the impact you want.
And attack onto that really fast before we switch to the next slide. A good thing to practice with that, providing the feedback and, you know, letting them know it's going to come. Make sure that review kind of comes sooner rather than later. You get that feedback and you're letting somebody know, I'm going to be writing a review for you about this information. 4 months later, they get that review and they don't even remember the event. And like, why does he think I have this problem? So it's a good way to, you know, if you're going to give that kind of feedback, make sure it's coming sooner rather than later.
Brief plug. It's not my initiative. The review from Facebook is phenomenal. Please sign up for the review group if you are not a member of it already. It's a great place to get help.
It's funny. It's great.
So the ultimate goal of mentoring, everyone's, you know, target, is the student becoming a teacher. So in my case, you have Ludwig's test subject, and, you know, in case you have, you know, me, you end up with an abomination. So we can't speak for all of you for this, but that could be me. So we went to this point that it's not always about getting to the next level. Sometimes you have those judges that are really good L1s and they just can't break that barrier. And sometimes they understand that I'm good at the store level. I'm good at an area level. I'm good at the regional level. I don't need to go any higher. It could be as simple as learning new skills, but for most, leveling 1 to 2 and so on is ultimately that goal, because level 1s want to get on GPs more often. They want to be able to make judges officially, not mentor somebody and then say, hey, Krug, I need you to test this guy for me, because I want to work with that person as well. Whatever you do and however you do it, remember, mentoring is ultimately a cycle of actions that helps us all improve.
So we do have one scenario, and it goes along something like this. You're mentoring a fellow judge at a regular rel standard event. After talking about the jar, you set them loose, but keep an eye on them through their first few calls. On their first call, you witness them give a GRB to a player. How will you handle this? Now, before we're going to take 1 or 2, get into that, what's the wrong way to handle this? Or what's an example of a wrong way to handle this?
Going over and completely hijacking the call.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, that's the one thing that we don't want to do. What do we want to do with this?
Jason, you're trying to raise your hand.
Oh, no, I was going to say that exactly.
Okay, well, you want to help on how do we actually handle it?
Oh, well, you can pull them aside and say, we don't give GRBs at regular.
Ask them why they did that. Like, help, rather than just say you did a wrong thing, help them understand, maybe think through why they did what they did and how maybe that wasn't right.
Sure. The Socratic method. Asking questions.
I love this.
Getting them, I learned something earlier today. Getting them to answer your questions sometimes will push them in the right direction. That's great.
Okay, so for you guys, we just wanted to share some of our mentors with you guys. You know, everyone knows me as, Green Lantern head. Green Lantern taught me to believe in myself. Reading comic books. Green Lantern's always believing himself. Always do the right thing. There's always the right thing to do no matter what situation. Embrace adventure. Judging is an adventure. You're traveling further. You're going new places. Always have fun. Always. High fives for days. These are a handful of my mentors. These guys are directly responsible for me becoming a judge. All of you belong on this list as well, because I know I've worked with almost everyone in this room, and I've learned a little bit from you today. Mentors come all places. No matter where you're going to be, no matter where you're playing, no matter where you're judging, no matter where you're just interacting with other people. We're everywhere.
And then this is a partial list of my mentors, people that I look up to, either people that got me into the game, took me under their wing, were very, very patient with me when I needed it. And then I can't tell you how much I've learned from this guy.
I took that picture.
What are?
I took note of this.
Krug and I met Krug at an SCG event, and I feel like I've found a brother that I didn't know that I had, that I missed. He drives me to be better. So with that, the one thing that we want to remind everybody is Fred's a great guy, and he says the greatest gift you can ever give is your honest self. And that's what we expect from everybody as a mentor and as a mentee. Thank you very much. Please fill out the feedback thingy on the website. And if you have any questions or anything, we're happy to do that now or individually.
On the whole, what does the judge stand for? I don't have them all, but funny story, when I first became a judge that he loves. So I dealt with a very unruly player, and IQ. Tom was there, which is great that he's here. Because the players